1280. We do need the sound.
You tricked me now.
I thought you were going to clap. Welcome to the Violin Shop. This afternoon I have the rare privilege of having Olga Ivanenko come visit with me.
Hi.
Hi. It is wonderful to have a great violinist come stop by, and she's agreed to be interviewed and have me ask questions, and we'll discuss a little bit and have a little fun.
Yes, we'll have lots of fun today.
Any comments about the Violin Shop?
I loved your violin shop. I mean, there's lots of wood here, lots of violins, lots of crazy things.
Being a violinist, it is kind of a different world. At least, I think it is. I think it's a very special world.
It is. I mean, in general, any instrument is pretty special, I feel like, in my opinion. And violin, it's more closer to human voice. So that's something that I guess makes violin more unique than other instruments.
Speaking of unique, you come from the Ukraine, is that right?
Just from Ukraine, not the Ukraine.
Oh. Oh, no, you don't have to whisper. What was that? Say it.
Just from Ukraine,
Just
not from the Ukraine.
Oh. I don't know. I've always heard it as the Ukraine.
Yes, lots of people say that, but it's actually just Ukraine.
No, that's great. And I encourage you to correct anything I say wrong.
That's okay.
So you're from Ukraine.
Yes, I am.
And how old were you when you started playing the violin?
I started when I was 8, and I don't know from where I just heard it or how I decided to play on it. I'm not sure how that happened. I just out of nowhere told my mom I want to play on the violin, and she took me to the music school. And
now, to the music school, is it
Yes.
a conservatory? Is it a elementary school with music thrown in, or how would you describe the music school?
So technically in Ukraine, if you want to do sports or music or dancing, you have to go to a completely different place. And so during the day I would have regular school, and then second half of the day I would have music school, where almost from the first year of playing you learn ear training, music history. Of course it's first easier load of music courses, and then each year you have to go for 7 years to music school in order to graduate. Violin lessons, and then you're supposed to have your secondary instrument, so I had my piano for like 3 years in music school too as secondary. It was from one of the older books. It wasn't Suzuki, it was just like a regular USSR book. I don't know if I should say that or not, that it was USSR book.
Well, that's interesting to me. So was it all Russian?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
and we just had small songs, and the way of studying is a little bit different. I plucked for probably first semester, and then second semester I picked up the bow and started playing with the bow. And the reason why is because you get used to your left hand better, and then you're able, yes, you just plug the whole time, all 4 months of your studying.
So did they focus on playing a piece till it's perfect, or just keep you moving along to new pieces?
It was more, I needed to get it close to perfect.
Close to perfect. Now, okay, with the right or the bow hand, for those who aren't aware, your challenges, was it drawing a smooth bow? Was it like staccato or flying spiccato or anything in particular? Or was it just all around that control all the way around?
Just
anything
in general, how to use the bow.
So, yes, like everyone
Starting
does.
from basics, how do you use this to make sound? That doesn't really work.
Yes. How do you do this? How do you use this?
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's, especially when you're a kid, you're not really, you don't really understand how would you make this work. Why do you have to hold it this way? Because this way is more comfortable. So how come I cannot hold it this way? Why? But again, I haven't had any special tools. Like right now they have tools for kids where you place like kind of a pinky holder
Oh,
that you would place your
I've seen
pinky
those.
over there. I didn't have any of those. I was just taught, just how to do it right away. Had to.
So how do you say violin in Ukraine?
Skrypka. Skrypka.
Skripka.
Close,
Close.
yeah, good job. And bow, it will be smyczok.
And the what?
Smyczok. Bow.
Wow.
This is smyczok. This is skrypka. This is smyczok.
Wow. So what was your goal?
At first, when I started, honestly, my mom thought I will quit pretty quick. Because I did sports too, and I did painting and
Okay, what kind of sports?
art gymnastics.
Ah.
So from 4 until 10, I think until 10. I know it was like almost 8 years or close to it, 6 or 8. I was in art gymnastics, so I had diets, I had very strict trainers, and doesn't matter, you sick or you dead, you have to be there, even if you're a kid. And I went through that school, and I think that was great for me to build my character, for sure.
Well, I am a violin maker. So describe, what is the perfect violin, the dream violin
For me, the dream violin.
for you? And now your violin is here. Do you mind if I grab it?
Yes, of course. There's a rosin on it. I need to clean it again. I just practiced.
So tell me about your violin.
Hold on. I just played.
I know
5
you
minutes
just played
ago.
and just set it down. It's
About my violin, I started playing on this violin since I believe I was 11 or 10. Before this, I had just regular cheap violins. This violin, I honestly don't know the story about it. I just got lucky and someone was...
Do you-
Yes,
actually,
of course.
while you talk, let me just...
And I definitely count my instrument as my baby. And I've grown with this instrument for many, many years, and there's definitely some special connection between my instrument and I, for sure.
It's definitely been loved for many, many years.
Yes, it's been repaired very
Yes, it's
many times, lots of times.
doubled edges, numbers of repairs.
But it doesn't stop me to love my instrument.
Fact is, I was growing up, it was, I grew up a lot like you that way with, just each repair seems to add character and flavor, each person who played upon it. And as you're probably aware, on the famous instruments,
Yeah.
it's almost as much who played upon it as how good the instrument actually is.
Yes. Yeah. I think we both went through lots of things together. We've had my instrument and we've had history together already, and I've been playing on it for, I think now about probably 15 years. It's hard to count. I'm a musician, I can count till 4, that's it. My
Very interesting.
favorite part is pegs. And even though I've had comments was that I have to, change them because it's not easy for me to tune my violin
Yes,
with pegs.
the shanks of the pegs are very large to where it's to the point to tune nicely, it would need bushed, and then smaller shanks or these shaved down. Yes.
And that's the only reason why I have my fine tuners. I know people say if you have 4 fine tuners, you're not a violin player yet. But my reasoning is I try to only adjust it when it really needs to be adjusted
Right.
with pegs. It's pretty tough to adjust with was this.
Oh, I can see that without even trying.
Because I really love this style and I don't want to change anything about the head of this violin or the pegs or anything. I just want to leave it as it is. I can sacrifice them having, my fine tuners.
You choose emotion over perfection, is what I'm.
Yes, because it will be traumatic for my violin to do something. I don't want to put her through surgery for no reason.
So your violin has feelings.
Yes, it does.
That's wonderful.
I definitely would say this violin has a character, and sometimes it's interesting. It reacts to whoever I give it to hold it, whoever tries to play on it, and so I usually just keep it in my hands because.
Oh, and here I'm holding it.
Oh, that's okay.
But I love all violins.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So much of it is that bond with your instrument, the love and that connection. It really is. And so many people have lost sight of that. For some reason, as I read all the old stories, I've heard them handed down. You hear me talk about the Romantic School of Music, but the stories handed down of the personal relationships and the bond with the instrument. And it's life itself to some people. And as you say, in one person's hands, it's nothing. And yet in the person's hands who it's a perfect match and they love it, it's everything. And this is you.
Yeah. I think, for me, it honestly, I do not really care about the value, like how much it costs or for how much I bought this instrument. It's more that, what it means to me and what my hands can do with that. And that's the biggest part for me.
So what are your dreams now?
My dreams always is to be rich and famous. That's my dreams.
Rich and famous, I like that. I have to say this. Any violinist who becomes rich and famous, the moment they become rich and famous, they've probably earned $1 an hour.
Yeah.
That allows you to do almost anything in this day and age.
Yes, but for me, being rich and famous, it's not about, myself. It's about what I can bring for people and what I would like to do in the future. So
what people?
Hopefully help out people with maybe mental health with my music. Not just that, in general, there are lots of people that are struggling with depression or everyone is going through something, and...
So you believe music can heal?
Yes, of course.
So do I. I just have to ask it that way since not many people realize that.
It does. I mean, again, it depends. Of course, if you play your passages like you need help, then it's not going to heal anyone because everyone will like, how can I help this person? And so I think it's not about like your hard passages or like what you play, just more what you bring behind the music. And you can, obviously you can mess up and, but if you have story for the piece that you play and you try to kind of picture that for people, they just get transferred to a whole different, place.
So what audiences do you like? Do you want to play for? I mean, small groups or private people or large audiences and influence many?
Of course, large audiences influence many, but...
You just made it sound so personal and yet...
You can make it personal,
yes,
no matter how many people are there. It depends on what you are bringing with you to show. And of course I'll know the history, of course I'll know the story behind the piece, that was written, but at the same time, I have my own story that maybe this music makes me feel, and showing what it can, like how it connects to me can help other people to see how that connect to them. It just shows who I am, like without, it's not hiding anything. And as an artist, if you can do that and just express it in your music, I'm still learning too.
Aren't we all?
Yes, of course.
So do you have advice for someone just starting out on the violin?
I would just say, just be patient and be happy with your progress, like every day, you know, like what you make. And of course, have dedication. You have to stay dedicated because it's like sports. I mean, I think for me, you know, comparing to art gymnastics, I've used to have trainings where you don't even skip one time. And that dedication came into my playing too because, you know, you have to practice. You cannot just, you know, come up with the excuse and just say like, oh, I can't. I mean, do I come up with excuses? Yes.
Yeah. Excuses are easy, huh?
But so many times, sometimes, you know, I'll catch myself feeling very tired or having this horrible day and headache, and I'll say, I don't want to practice. I have to drag myself. Like right now, not you know, not in the learning stages. Now I'll push myself. I'll like literally drag myself. Open the music and I'll sit down and I'll think, oh, like, why do I really need to do this? But I'm so drained. And then as soon as I start playing, I just zone out and then I forget that I have headache, that I had a bad day. And I'm like, oh, I'm glad I did this. So, you know, sometimes we have to push ourselves and then in the end you will not regret it.
So what's the best performance or the best piece that you've played that you felt the most wonderful about when it was over?
That I felt that good that because it's over. Or that was
Let's go
good.
there first. What did you feel the best that it was over?
Well, honestly, the first time when I played the first movement of Prokofiev Violin Concerto number 1, and I had to memorize it in a short amount of time, I felt good after when it was
when
over.
it was over. There's a couple symphonies I've played in where, yes, the whole thing is, can you hold your hand up and play that light for that long? Oh!
You know, I've had too many symphonies like this that I was glad it was over. Because if you mess up as a solo, you're like, oh, it's okay. But then, like, when you mess up as orchestra, you mess up the whole orchestra, so you don't want to do that.
Oh.
Well, we probably should cut that part.
We'll cut that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
Jump
bring up
back on.
such an important part, and that is, it's night and day. I don't have the words powerful enough to say, if you mess up and it destroys you on stage, versus if you mess up and you just own it and go on.
I was owning it, like I don't know who.
Yeah, well,
I
yes.
was playing my complete own music that Prokofiev never heard before.
And my point is, probably over half the audience thought it was written exactly that way.
That's what they thought. Thankfully. Thankfully. But yeah,
Yes.
I mean, my part was just like, you know, I'm playing. In fact, probably my face was even more confident when I started doing that because I was like,
Yes.
well, I need to make sure nobody notices this. So I was just like, kept playing.
Do you play in quartets?
I do, yeah, of course.
So what do you think about quartets?
I love chamber music. I like
Okay.
quartets. It's definitely, you know, it's a different style.
So it's a whole different flavor.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what helps is when you play with your friends or people that you know, because kind of in smaller groups like this, it's good to have some personal connection with people that you play. That helps you to be able to understand each other, you know, each other's body language and
Right,
just
like
be
passing
able-
off the phrase.
Yes,
Nice.
yes.
Right. It never seems. I mean, there's a little bit of that in orchestras, but nothing like a quartet where it's more personal. It's more back and forth, and it's written that way too. in so
Yes,
many-
definitely. Yes, I would say that, you know, with quartets, as I said, when you kind of, besides coming to the rehearsal with the group that you were playing, you're supposed to go do some things together. Go take out lunch, go for dinner, go hiking, go to a concert together, just because that will help to, again, build that personal relationship with each person in your group. If we are building a professional, you know, quartet, but sometimes you got thrown into quartets where it's like last minute and you just need it for a wedding or for some event, or you just make it work, you know, you do your best.
Oh, 1, 2, 8, 3. How do you see the rest of your career going? Is it focusing on soloing? Is it playing in just all around everything?
Yes, I do have one project that I would like to do myself, and it's, I like to improvise, I like to create my own music, and that's kind of in the long run what I want to do. Yes, I want to
Be a composer.
a composer, performer, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Melodies that I hear sometimes, I'll listen to a song and like, oh, I hear this, how I can put it in the violin part, or things like that, So I feel like this is what I want to do for the future and still play classical, It's not going to go anywhere from me. I think it's just a combination of lots of different genres and to show majority of people that, violin, it's not just this, you can do this, just one thing was that.
That's wonderful.
So that's, in the long run, that's a rich and famous life, as I call it.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Yes, of course. Thank you for your time. It was a pleasure to be here.
It's wonderful. And I hope you have a good trip, and I hope everything ends up well. And
Yes.
Hope to meet again.
Of course we'll meet again. We'll party.
There you go. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And signing off.
Bye.